27 records. That's a lot of music for a project.
Yeah.
Why? I'm not mad at it, but why? Why? Tell me.
I mean, I didn't go into it thinking that I was going to have 27 tracks,
Right.
but I think just because I like so many styles of music that
Right.
I think it just sort of started off with a couple tracks, and then I was like, well, I got to add those ones, and then I just kept adding them and finding new artists that I wanted to work with.
Right.
And then just doing different styles of beats and stuff.
Hey, what's going on? It's your man Ricochet. We're sitting down with the one and only Eva Shaw.
Said my name properly.
Why, was I not supposed to say it properly?
Nobody does.
What do you mean? How do they say your name?
Eva, Ava,
Eva.
Evan.
No.
Sometimes people think I'm a guy.
Eva Shaw. Get it right. Act like you know.
It's like Wally.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a minute. It's been 4 years and you've been working.
I've been working a lot, and I
Super
remember that when I came in last time, you
Right.
asked me if I felt like EDM artists were kind of just jumping on the bandwagon. for
Ooh, we're
hip-hop.
gonna talk about that.
I remember that.
I got it right here. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about that. But today we are here talking about your project Solo.
Yeah.
Solo. Bitch, I'm riding slow.
27 records. That's a lot of music for a project.
Yeah.
Why? I'm not mad at it, but why? Why? Tell me.
I mean, I didn't go into it thinking that I was going to have 27 tracks,
Right.
but I think just because I like so many styles of music that
Right.
I think it just sort of started off with a couple tracks, and then I was like, well, I got to add those ones, and then I just kept adding them and finding new artists that I wanted to work with.
Right.
And then just doing different styles of beats and stuff. And I felt like after I was kind of like, I think most artists would maybe not include everything,
Right.
but I felt like every track kind of had its place.
I agree.
And everybody, I think my listeners like different stuff too. So some people prefer like more R&B, some people like more like harder, rave kind of stuff.
Right.
So I just tried to have something for everybody.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. I know who you are. I know a little bit of your background, but for people who don't know who Eva Shaw is, give them a quick reminder, a little lesson in Eva Shaw.
I'm a music producer and a DJ. Well, I haven't DJ'd since COVID, but you're
hoping to get
DJing
back
more
at
than
it.
me now. Yeah, but I've been touring and stuff and playing all over the place.
Right.
And I make music and I make music videos. Like I'm a creative director with that kind of stuff, so I'm very hands-on.
Right.
I dabble in clothing design.
Modeling as well too. Are you still modeling?
I mean, I used to model and I'll do it like if it makes sense.
Bag is right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it has to be good too,
Right,
right? Like
right,
it has to be
right,
cool.
right.
I like doing collaborations with designers too,
Right.
so I'll probably figure out another kind of collaboration to do at the right time.
That's my bad little beat. That's my freak little hoe. Shawty won't suck and straw.
The first time I got wind of you was as a EDM DJ. There was a time over the last 10 years where EDM was the biggest thing in the world. We see a transformation, which, EDM and electronic music is still big. Let's not forget that. But a change started happening where hip hop and trap started becoming the main genre of music in clubs and whatnot. And you can see that just by going anywhere on King Street in Toronto on Saturday night. Talk to me about, I don't know if I want to call it a transformation, but talk to me about the journey from EDM into the world of hip hop and trap.
Well, I think just growing up, like I listened to more hip hop.
Right.
I didn't really listen to dance music,
Right.
like a little bit here and there, but that wasn't really like my thing.
Right.
So when I started learning how to produce and DJ, I started with tech house and house music.
Right.
So I don't know, I think the person that I learned from and the DJs that I saw out were playing all kind of like house music
Right.
in Toronto.
Right.
And so that's just kind of like what I learned, and then I started making beats that would fit in my sets.
Right.
So I didn't think about like, oh, I'm gonna be like an electronic artist.
Right.
Like that wasn't really the process.
Right.
My first tracks that I signed happened to be dance music, and then from there it kept going. And then I think right as I started dropping my own releases, that's kind of when I, like all the, like you mentioned, the DJ stuff started blowing up in North America.
Right.
Like it's been around in Europe,
Of course, 100%.
but I feel like everybody just started getting like Deadmau5 and Tiesto and Calvin Harris. Everybody started getting these like crazy Vegas residencies.
Big bands.
Yeah. And I think my timing was just right.
Right.
You know, like there was no girls that I saw.
Right.
And I was like,
At least no girls that were really doing it. Like,
that's what I mean.
You
like,
had
in the
people
circle.
kind of like, you know, look like it was, you know, almost publicity stunt, but you were actually like committed to the craft.
Yeah, I mean, I did it for fun first, and then I think just like the timing and the demand for it, like some people wanted more females, and I think the fact that I played such hard music was also kind of like unique.
Right.
Because I just really liked big room, like energetic kind of sets, and there was no girls around that was really like doing that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that sound, I feel, plays a big part in this album here. Because the production that you offer, it's not your typical, it's not something that I'm expecting. Like, it's very unexpected. Every record is something different.
Even made the beat for Shaw.
I've been super chill up inside my bed.
You take a lot from the electronic world when you're producing records for this album?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do, I think I naturally just produce that way because I'm used to like making like big room music.
Right.
So it's just gonna sound different than like other like hip hop producers, I think.
Right.
I definitely, a couple of tracks on there, like Dracula with So Low Key,
Right.
Rockstar Wasted with Swaggerite.
Right.
Like those are ones that I actively wanted to do something that was like still hip hop to me, but could be played on like an EDM stage,
Right.
like really hard, like
It
distorted.
feels very
808s.
kind of like, like mosh pitish in a
Yeah.
way, a little bit.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a bridging the gap a little bit.
Right.
And there's only one, like, I would say more like dance song, which is with Dylan Ponders,
Right.
Juice.
Which, you know, we had Dylan here not too long ago, and if there's one artist that's going to be able to do that, amongst a lot of other people you work with, actually, we'll talk about that in a second, but Dylan is definitely that kind of guy.
Yeah, Dylan's down for whatever. I
Right.
feel like he likes experimenting.
Right.
And I caught him at this time where he was super into doing like G-House kind of like
Right.
that kind of beat. So yeah, I think he sort of like got me into doing that as well because I kind of wanted to do it and then he liked what I did and then he was like, oh, send me some more like dance beats. And that's when I started thinking more about doing like hype hop and like the EP series I have that
Right.
is G-House. And I've just been like trying to do remixes of my own tracks. So like taking the vocal and then putting like a dance beat on it.
Dope.
It's like kind of like a remix.
Sauce and I got the juice. Dripping everywhere, been mopping up the booth. Everybody staring, I ain't moving to a zoo. Sent me a pack and it's all getting chewed. Big dog, hit me up drunk in my video.
Going back to the records, 27 records now, you know, a lot of times we see DJs drawing for people that are already kind of on in a certain aspect. And I'm not saying that that's not the case with this album, but some of the names we might not be familiar.
Yeah.
You're collaborating with people that I've heard for the very first time. How did you choose who was gonna be on this album? Was it organic or did you have relationships with these people already? Like, what was that whole process of picking the artists that we're gonna collaborate with?
I mean, a few of them are signed to my label, Mad Fatty. So
Right.
like Chris the Spirit and G Milla and those kind of guys, like and DB Bantino are signed to my label. So like that's a no-brainer. Like I want to
Right,
support
of course.
them. The rest of it was really just like who's down to do it and who's not gonna have like too much ego, because I feel like when most of these rappers are used to working with producers,
Right.
they can kind of tell like what to do.
Right.
And this is my project, so I think for a lot of them, they were like, you know, it's outside of their comfort zone, you know?
I heard, like, so listening to the album, I hear that. I hear some artists sounding very different than they usually sound. Even the punch-ins, the placement, like the whole nine. How much of that was a collaborative effort and how much of that was kind of like emailing the verse back and forth?
A lot of it was not together in the studio because
Right.
it was most
Of
of it was
course.
done during
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah, right.
And I'm also like not usually in Toronto.
Right.
Or now I am more, but at the time I was more in LA and most people weren't there that I was working with.
Right.
I think like most of the time it was like me sort of like performing surgery on all these tracks
Right.
because there's so many artists. So like I would record one person on a verse then I needed to finish the rest of the track. So I'm like trying to find somebody that would fit on that. So then like I would send them like an open verse or something. And then some of it I did like cut up and stuff, like Fuck It, I Made It. Like I made the hook.
Right.
I just like, he said Fuck It, I Made It in his like freestyle.
Right.
Then I just took that and like repeated it because I was like, this is a cool thing to say. I don't know, I liked it.
Dope.
So a lot of that is kind of like, sometimes people, like there can be producers that are more just beat makers, and I feel like I really think of the song as a whole. So
As a producer.
yeah,
As the true definition of a producer.
yeah,
Right.
everything down to like the arrangement and like not just the beat arrangement, but the vocal arrangement and like just seeing who's gonna be good together on the track.
Right.
And I think a lot of rappers, they haven't worked together before, so they're kind of like,
Yeah, there's a lot of collabs here that I would not expect that
Yeah.
I've seen on this album. I'm like, wow, dope.
I think like at some point they start to trust me, and
Right.
then they're like, okay, I know it's gonna sound good, so they're like, okay, just do your thing.
A couple artists make a few appearances on the album. BTK Villion, somebody that you've been working with for a
Yeah.
while. You got 4 records with the same person
Yeah.
on a thing. It kind of feels like a family type of vibe when I listen to those
It's
records.
Mad
Right.
Fatty family.
Right. Okay, so he signed to the label as
Yeah,
well.
he signed to Mad
Okay,
Fatty.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like I've been producing a lot of his tracks, and then we just kind of talk about like, okay, I'm gonna put this on my album. Like you can also put it on your album.
Right.
Like it's just kind of like a, you know,
Right.
all a family.
Cartiers for my hoes. Hey, said it won't war, so we draw our sword. Yeah, ain't
Pandemic is in the rear view, hopefully. Touring is probably in the back of your head somewhere,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
to get back out
In the
there.
front of my head.
In the front of your head.
Yeah.
You know, so you've toured as an EDM DJ or for electric music audiences. Now I'm assuming we're going into a little bit of a different lane with this album. What do you think the difference is as far as a DJ, and what is the main difference that you notice between that big EDM stage or, you know, doing a trap set, hip hop set?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I want to do with my shows is maybe perform a bit more like myself, since I'm doing more vocals.
Of course, yeah, and that was great to
Yeah.
see on this album. Like hearing your vocals, I'm like saying, on the next project, are we gonna get some more verses out of Eva or
Yeah,
what?
I'm planning to do like a EP that's just my vocals, maybe a feature here and there, but
looking forward to that. I'm
I'm done
very
with trying to
curious.
get features. It's so annoying. Like
Very curious.
Southside nigga, outside with it. Bitch, I got that little pack shot Chevy, I'm a real stunner, plotting all summer. Whack little nigga still hating on me, come.
Southside nigga, outside with it. Bitch, I got that.
If you gotta pick 3 records, I know this is your baby, and I know artists hate when I ask them this, but you gotta pick 3 records that everybody has to listen to off the album. What are the 3 records?
I mean, Outside with Jazz Cartier.
Big record.
I really, that one sounds great, and I'm just really like proud of that one.
Right.
And it's just cool.
And Jazz is like a legend
Yeah,
in the city.
and Chris the Spirit went crazy on
Right.
that too. Like lyrically, to me, he's one of the best rappers I've ever heard.
Right, okay.
Like I think he's competitive with like Kendrick.
Ooh,
I-
those are big
yeah,
talks right
I
there.
know.
Okay.
If you listen to his stuff, he says stuff just different.
Right.
And I think he's incredible.
And that's it, like we were saying, artists that I usually maybe would not be up on, I'm discovering on your album, and you're right, he does got crazy bars over there.
Someone else actually said that yesterday in my interview. They said they're finding new artists, and they mentioned
Artists,
Chris.
right. Okay, that's the first record. The other 2?
Oh man, I mean I like Paranoid, the last track, because
Okay.
it's a little bit different, a little more like funky. My
Right.
dad's playing guitar, so.
Oh wow, you got
Yeah.
to collab with your dad on it.
Yeah, my dad's a musician as well. So.
Wow, that's a moment.
Yeah, so it's just kind of special to me. I did a little chant at the end that
Right.
I kind of like. Kind of reminds me of like a schoolyard kind of like. I don't know.
One of those. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And song number 3?
I mean, I like Easter Island a lot with Pressa.
Big record.
Yeah.
And that's a collab I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting it, and I don't know why.
Really?
I don't know why. I just wasn't expecting Eva Shaw Pressa, and when I see the record on the album, I'm like, this is dope. And I felt like it took Pressa out of his comfort zone a little bit, which I was really digging.
It's definitely different than his usual stuff.
Right.
And I really pushed him to not do the same thing.
Right.
Because if I just copied his normal beats, then it's not my album anymore.
Right. It's not your
Like, yeah.
Anybody that you didn't get to work with on this project that you're hoping to make happen sometime in the near future? Drake, if you're listening, Drake. Anybody else?
Honestly, I feel like I kind of got the people that I really wanted to work with on this. There were a couple of people I asked that were just way too difficult, or asked for like feature fees that they had no business asking for.
Right.
And then I just kind of like I met a lot of people when I was putting it together, and I just kind of figured out, like, I also want to work with people that are cool and nice to work with.
Well, yeah, it sounded very organic.
Yeah.
Nothing here sounded forced.
Yeah, I'm not really about like, oh, here's a bag, like just give me a verse.
Right.
You know, like I want them to like it and be excited about the project, because like I'm promoting them as well.
Of course.
And I'm putting all this effort in, and I'm on half the song, but the rest is the vocalist. It's really a collaboration.
Deep in the trench, I'm deep in the trench. Like ain't on me. Deep in the trench, I'm deep in the trench.
So, what is next for Eva Shaw? What's happening next? You talked about the EP.
The singing, I think.
Right, the singing.
I'm gonna get a little bit more into that. I don't even know what you call it, singing, chanting, rapping, whatever.
We'll make a name for it when it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be doing some more shows again. I'm planning that. I'm dropping a couple NFTs,
Dope.
which I'm getting really into. I draw myself, so I might start like creating them myself. Yeah, I mean a little
Very
bit
much
here
so
and
a
there.
creator.
Yeah, I think my next major goal right now is to produce a record for a big artist like Drake.
Right.
In the background more. Yeah, I haven't really done that yet because I've been focusing on my own artist stuff. So I think something like that, or like Travis Scott would be.
Right. Well,
like,
just gotta
really
put it
dope.
out there into the air.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying until it happens.
Everybody, I'm gonna urge you to go check out the album Eva Shaw Solo. Thank you very much for sitting down and chopping it up with us. I appreciate you. You know the door is open for you anytime.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Make it off my back. I'ma put 'em on their back. Got a pocket full of racks. Not gonna